It is so hard to believe it is back to school time already. And for a lot of families, it's just so exciting getting that perfect outfit for the kids or outfits for the school year. But of course, you have to plan for weather that's crazy here in Central Ohio, and also that works with your budget. I have Mary Probst here with us. She is a financial wellness expert with Fifth Third Bank. And I think a lot of people want to make sure their kids have that good first day experience. They just want to make sure they don't break the bank while doing it.
Oh, absolutely. Budget is a key to making that back to school experience work well for them. And budget is something that we all think about. So I think the main thing that I would urge everybody to think about is, what are those key pieces that you need for that school year without breaking the bank? So layers, key pieces, do you need the most expensive, heaviest jacket? We're in Central Ohio and winters generally really aren't that cold. And then also things like, swapping with neighbors and family. Maybe they've got somebody that's outgrown something, things like that.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids enjoy that moment where they can go out and pick that outfit. Do you find a lot of families are saying, especially nowadays, it is tough sometimes to find that extra money? Or do you think if, you can find the perfect budget, then you really can give them what they want per se without saying no to certain things?
I mean, perfect budget, bottomless wallet would be fantastic. I think making it fun for the kids can really make up for the not having that bottomless wallet. So as a mom, one of the things I used to do is make a game of it. And so we would help build out that budget. They would kind of identify what their must-haves were, like those ones that they had to have, would be nice to have. And then they'd go out and they'd work within their budget to find the best deals and kind of build their own wardrobe out. And then we'd see who had the best deal out of all of them. And then we'd try to find a balance between what did you find online and what did you find at the local store. So that was one of my things. So small business obviously is really cool. Can you find a small business nearby that you can find a good deal at too?
I like that because then we're also giving back to the community and we are supporting those local businesses. And you said games. It sounds like you could also teach your kids a little bit about finances while doing back to school shopping.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that made a bigger impression on them and took away a lot of that disappointment, because once they understood what went into that budget and kind of how far the dollar went, there was less expectation and less disappointment around whether or not they had all of the things when they understood what went into having all the things.
And I think a lot of times, sometimes kids will have that peer pressure, especially high school students that want to have that purse or that dress or that shirt. But there's a lot of other options like discounts, thrift stores you could go to and get them that same experience, but they don't have to know it costs less. Yeah,
absolutely. Discount, thrift shop, secondhand, those are fantastic ways to do it. Honestly, having them take those their old clothes that they're done with over to the thrift store and then kind of being part of that and getting to make a little money and then buy some was always a fun thing too. So they got to make some money while they're at it.
Do you think having Central Ohio weather year-round where we literally get a little bit of everything, that does sometimes pose a challenge as to trying to figure out what are those key pieces?
I mean, yeah, it can be tricky. I think your wardrobe is kind of, you never really put away the summer clothes or the winter clothes. But I think that's where the layers come in. I mean, all year round could kind of be hoodie season, but you might need those short sleeves. But I'll be honest, how often do we really wear those heavy coats? You could get away with a long sleeve shirt and or a hoodie for majority of the year. And for a lot of times for your kids, I don't know about yours, but it could just be my teenage boys. They did never wear a heavy winter coat. So I saved a ton of money that way with just really being mindful of what the weather was like historically for us, and just, kind of purchasing clothes that really fit that.
And I think with that also it's important to remember accessorizing or accessories like an umbrella or maybe rain boots or some boots that are good for all seasons that are also waterproof.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any other tips when it comes to the kinds of things you can look for, maybe if certain sales of getting those key items that you can use year-round?
I mean, so some of the things that I always try to be mindful of, so for example, the buy one, get one and things like that, not falling in the trap of buying something just because it was discounted. So I tried to be mindful of, am I actually going to use all of this? that was one of those, just because I'm buying in bulk or buying more and saving doesn't mean I'm going to use it. And so that was one of those things I really had to be mindful of with my budget is what am I actually going to use? So budgeting and then really planning out what do I need, what do I have to have, and starting there first before going out and shopping really made a difference. So I was spending the money I actually was going to use.
I think that brings up a great point because especially since you have the tax-free time that'll be in place in August, I think a lot of people, you have that urge, you're like, ooh, I'm saving this much. Are people actually really saving that much by not having sales tax, or is it more of the bigger purchases where you can really benefit from something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're buying. So some of the things like food items that you may not be getting taxed on anyway, you're not going to save as much on, but you are right. The larger the item is, the more the tax what it might have been, the greater the savings. But again, if you haven't saved for it and you're taking out credit card debt or something like that, you aren't going to save. So it's something that you want to have thought in advance. So plan appropriately, budget accordingly, and then when you have those funds, go out and spend the funds that you've already saved for the items that you're going to use, and then it truly is a savings.
And I think too sometimes about the families that might be watching that are in a really tough spot. They may not have that extra money for back to school shopping this year to get that perfect outfit. Do you have any advice for those parents of, is there a way they could still do it, or is it a conversation with your kids, or maybe trying to find, like we talked about, that alternative like a thrift store or a higher end consignment store where you can still give them an experience without taking away from back to school for the year?
I mean, yeah, higher end consignment stores, getting with other parties, friends, families, seeing who you can exchange with. Those are great ways to do it for now. And then I would urge them is, can you get with your banker currently? Can you go in your app and see, are there savings goals that you can set in the savings where you can start tucking away some of those funds for the future? So for this year, you might have to partner with other friends and family. You might have to go with some of those second hands. But I would definitely guarantee that if they start planning now, that next year it might be not so hard for them to start doing it if they start planning. And then maybe work with their banker, whoever it might be, to say, hey, how can I change this for the future so I don't feel like this again next school year?
So it sounds a little psychological both for the parent but also for the children, kind of finding that happy balance where you don't have to say no. That could set their whole school year back if they didn't get what some of their classmates got. Right,
absolutely. I mean, it can have a huge impact on both the parents and the children. So this year could be tough. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully they can find a way to make this year work. But let's not make it something that we repeat, and let's try to find a way to make it forward and, improve the future.
That's awesome. Is there any other tips you want to give to parents when it comes to the back to school shopping, the outfits especially, and getting those brand new clothes for the school year, but also for the entirety of all the crazy weather Central Ohio has during the school year?
I mean, there's always going to be those kind of capsule pieces, things that you can kind of pair with a bunch of different items. That's one thing that I've always used. So a couple shirts that will pair with a bunch of different outfits, or pants that might pair with different shirts. That way you can have a couple items that you can mix and match and create a bunch of different outfits. Another thing that might be, when it comes down to an item that you really want, is that kind of 24-hour rule. Sit on it and think. If it's a really big purchase, sit on it for 24 hours. Do I really need this? Maybe I could buy 2 other things under that same price, and that way you have 2 outfits versus 1. And last but not least, as you're kind of planning out this shopping, because it's a big expense, look and see. There's a ton of different apps out there that might be able to cut some of those expenses down. There's different loyalty programs out there. There's different apps that you can combine and stack those loyalty programs out, and then check with your local small businesses to see what they have. A lot of them will have different plans as well too.
Great. Well, we really appreciate it, Mary from Fifth Third Bank, and happy back to school shopping,
Absolutely.
everybody.